Hi, my name is Alessandro Gangelosi and that's a video tutorial coming from cgcookie.com for Max Cookie. Today we work to finalize the chessboard pieces tutorial series, and we'll work more on lighting and shaders, and we'll add more detail on the models. And if we have time, we'll try to finalize the project also inside the Digital Fusion software. So let's go back to the render, and to work with the render we need again to work with a V-Ray RT. Something I like to do is to remove for the moment the depth of field, so we can work more on the scene without the distortion there. And let's work with the active shade. It is loading the scene, and we can close there, and you see that we have the preview. So let's add another light source, and we can create another V-Ray light, and we'll do something there. And we can move it up. So you see we have lighting also on the top of the model there, on the front side of the model. So let's work to have a different scaling. So we'll have different reflection over there. You see we have a more linear reflection, and that's nice. Sorry. And let's imagine that this one is maybe more little on the side. We have 30 for the multiplier, and that's maybe nice, but I like to make a test with 50. So we have a main light there, and then we have a really high light there. And I like to tune up the other light, the top light. So let's go in light selection. Let's see if this one is set to off. You see that's the light amount. We can go there to have a higher power for the front light, and then this one can be different and work more as a fill light. Let's set to on. It is really power, as you see. We can go for a different color, something like a blue color. So you see it is creating this kind of effects. Maybe just a little bit tweaking the light. Okay. And again, let's give more power to this one, and maybe we rotate a little bit this light and move a little bit there, and this one will be more powerful, let's say 95. So I like to have more light from the side, less from the back and there, and a little bit of fill light coming from the front. Let's go higher to see just if we have a really power light from the side. Okay, something like that can be enough. Let's check the other parameters. We have maybe to work with 16 subdivision, and that's all for the moment. Maybe it can be sorry, still more power in the light. So you see a really huge lighting coming from the side, and some light coming from there, and a little bit from the other side. Okay, so we have to work a little bit over the other setup. and I like to have another piece. Obviously we'll do not all the model sorry, we do something but not all the models. So let's imagine to have the same spline, so let's work with this one, and we can make a copy there, and we go to change sorry, the shape. The shape will be a little bit different, and sorry again, it will be also a little bit bigger. So we are trying to achieve the tower, so it will be different than the other we done. And let's say that we go just a little bit higher, and we are changing the shape step by step, and we have to change also the shape there. So let's say that this one is I like to remove these vertices. Okay, so we have just this one sorry, and we can okay, we can do something like that, maybe a little bit higher, and then we have to work with the spline because we need to create the shell. So let's set 12 there, and we need the outline. Let's go in this way, and let's see if it is working. Let's go in a perspective. And it is working. So we can have something like that. Okay, close there and close there. Then we can go to have two boxes to make, okay, something like that. We have to make the Boolean operation. So a line there in the middle, that's nice. And we do one there, and let's make, sorry, we need the angle snap, so let's activate the angle snap, and using the shift key we make a clone. Then select this one and go to compound objects, pro boolean, star picking, and we pick the first one. It's not working fine, so back. Let's try with the boolean, pick operand, and it is working fine. And then again boolean and start picking and pick the second one. So there is some phase there that are working not fine, so we can remove it manually. Okay, let's convert to editable poly, and then you see we can select the face and remove it. Okay, let's see if we have some holes. We can use the cap holes. Okay, we have something strange there. Okay, it was just to understand where we have some holes. You see, that's area. So you have, I think, no face there, right? Okay, it is not a big issue in our case because we are not working to have precise models, so it's not a problem for the moment. I like to have this one black. Okay, nice. So exit from the isolation there, and we can move this piece. Maybe this one can stay there. Okay. I like to center the pivot. Okay. And then this one can be rotated. I like to have this piece on the ground. Let's go there to check the position. We have to rotate manually without the angle snap. And then move it down. Okay. So we have the right position and we can rotate in this way. So you see, that's the actual composition of the scene. And maybe we can stay with this value, or maybe we can imagine that this one is black. So we have a black also there. And then we can make a clone of this one using the shift key to have a black white there. So as an instance, and save. Now I like to add another piece so we can make another clone for this one. Let's go in isolation again. Let's make a clone as a copy and set to off this one and work on the vertices. So this one can be higher. Let's go for something like that. And let's change a little bit the curve. Okay. Let's scale the zoom there. So let's move this one on the top. We can refine, adding another vertices there. Sorry. Then we can move it. So you see, we are creating another shape there, but we need to be sure that it is working fine. Then we can also refine there, and we can move this one, and let's zoom this area. So I like to create something not so bad. So move and move there. Let's create a little bit of fillet there. And let's see what happens if we have delayed. Okay, now we can work directly on the vertices to have the right shape. So you see, I'm just trying to achieve a nice looking shape, a little bit different from the other one we done. So let's move this piece, let's say for example there, and maybe we can move this one. This one can be moved. Let's imagine to have this one moved. This one can go there. This one can go there. This one also, because we need to have other pieces obviously, so let's make a clone also there as an instance, and we need this one also done in black, so we make a clone there as a copy, because maybe we have to change it, and that's nice. And then the same copy also there as an instance. Okay, let's save, and we can check there the rendering. You see it is going nice. Okay, I like to work a little bit also on the material still, and then there the side I like to use a chrome material. To make a chrome is really simple. We use a V-Ray material, we use a black color, we'll have freshener reflection with maximum reflection, and we'll do something around 16 for the reflectivity with an reflection glossiness, and we go to have also the anisotropy to simulate a metallic style there. Okay, so that's done. I like to work back on the wood there, but before we can work also on the chessboard. So let's see what happens if we have an higher level for the bumping. I like to see more bumping there over the surface, and I like to have maybe it seems better, I have to admit. So we have no bumping there over the white, and maybe I like to have less glossiness on the clear area there, so a real reflection. But obviously I like to have less reflectivity, so let's go in the reflection channel there, and let's say that also there we have not so much reflectivity. Maybe we can have more reflectivity on the black and less on the clear. So let's see if we have less reflectivity, what happens. You see we have just a little bit of reflection over there. And let's try to have, more reflectivity on the black side where we have the glossiness. Okay, but back on the reflection glossiness, just a little bit of glossiness also there. So let's say maybe 240, because it's too much specular. Okay, something like that. Nice. So we have the bumping, we have the metal there, and I like to work a little bit on this wood because I still don't like the texture we are using. Let's see, in the other texture we have the arc material. Let's go back where we have the wood to see if we have a clear wood that can be used. I like to have something not so much visible, but nice to be used on this kind of model. You know, the basic map we have with 3ds Max are not so much, and maybe you can have the possibility to access to more map. Let's see this one. See, it is really clear, and maybe we can imagine to use this one. So right mouse button, copy. Let's go in the reflection and let's paste as a copy, and the same there in the glossiness, and the same in the bump. But there in the bump we need to change the blurring. Let's go for 0.4, and we have to change for sure, I think, the other value. So let's remove everything. Let's go with a really low amount of bumping. Okay, you see that we have not so much reflectivity, and maybe we can add this one as reflectivity, and it is good. And then let's see with the glossiness. Okay. Let's go lower, 25%, because I don't like so much there. I like to have more glossiness. Okay, something like that can be nice. Let's see there. The other wood material is this one. It's not bad, the map, but I think we are using in a bad way the other parameters. So let's work mainly with a texture. That's not bad. The bumping is too much, so let's say maybe 2.0, and let's go higher with the blurring. Okay, then I like to have really heavy reflectivity, and it is high. Let's see, to have a control with a color map, just to have some differences over the material. Let's play a little bit with the glossiness using the reflection glossiness value. You see that we have a little bit. Okay, not bad. Let's see if we add a control with the map, but let's say maybe 40% of control. So we have partially the texture changing the glossiness and the reflection, and partially it's done using the other thing. Just another change to this map. I like to see if the problem comes from the reflection or not. So let's go there, and let's say that there we have 0.25 and 0.25 for the blurring, because I like to see less detail, and the same can be done there over the map. Let's go for 0.15, Okay, nice. So now we go on this model. The white pieces, the black is okay, is something like black wood. So let's make a copy of this shader, and let's see what happens if we go to use a V-Ray fast subsurface scattering. Let's start from a preset, and we have the marble can be used. It's nice to be used as one. So let's close this one, and let's see, if we can do a little preview using the production. Let's set to 900 and 400. Let's say show frame. We have to move from the camera. Do something like that, maybe. And we have to tune up, obviously, the select camera, the focus distance to have the right focus. Okay. And let's go for 600. Let's render. We have to set the various parameters because nothing was set for the moment. Okay, you see that we have the subsurface scattering over the white pieces, and that's really nice. I like it, I have to admit. But I want to play a little bit with it, so we can leave the basic value there, and there we can have also the geoacoustics due to the reflection. Let's go for a low and show calculation phase, and that's all. Okay, back to the material. Let's change something like the color, so copy. Let's go, for example, to have this color, and we can make a selection for this area, and we can see how it looks. You see that now we have the new color for the pieces. That's nice. And we can have a brighter color. Okay, we have the IRR set to 1.5, and the other thing we can have a lower value for the scattering. Because I like just to add a little bit of scattering, nothing so much. Okay, let's go also lower there with the IRR. Okay, so you see it's just a little bit, and the scatter color can be a little bit less saturated with a little bit more of yellow. It's more similar to what we were simulating before. Okay, and then I like to see there what we have. We have the reflection. You see we have also the scattering for the global illumination, and we can have it to have more precise illumination, trace reflection, so we can see also the reflectivity over the pieces, and we can decide if we need the glossiness or not. Actually we have 0.7. Actually, you see it's slower because we are using also the scatter GI, so we can see the differences using it and removing it. Okay, it is becoming too much slow, so we can remove it. And let's see how it looks. Okay, that's not bad. I like it. So we have the right stuff there. I like just to change a little bit there the reflectivity. Let's go to 0.75 and 1.8 for the IRR. I like to have a little bit more reflection over the black pieces with less glossiness. Okay, you see it's a little bit better than before. Maybe we can go higher. Let's say 0.85. Okay. Nice. So now I like to see what happens if we have a background over it. So we can use also a V-ray light. It will be a dome light. Let's say that we are using a full spherical dome, and this light will use a texture. So we can go inside the renderer there, and in the V-ray environment we can add a GI map. So let's say that there we have a V-ray HDR, and we can browse something that can with 3ds Max as pre-map. So let's go in the maps, sorry, HDRI, and we have the room or the spherical. Okay, let's use the room. That's the map. Okay, that's a spherical map, and we'll try to use this one in this way actually to see if it is working fine. So let's go in isolation. No, sorry. Let's select the light. The V-ray light 4, and we have to copy this map there. So inside the map, the HDRI, and let's go for a higher resolution if we have the right resolution. I don't remember the resolution for this map, but it can be an F. And let's close. Let's go in the camera and let's render. So you see that we see the back there. I think I will remove a little bit of lighting. So V-ray light 4, and we'll change how this map is working. So let's see there, and we'll use a V-ray, a color corrector, keep all map, and I like to have less red, and to be sure that we have a better contrast. Let's see, for example, in this way, you see it is better because we have less red color. And I think we can go also to have less saturation, and let's go there to have also less gamma. Let's go for something 0.7, so it will be darker. You see, it's a darker room because we have also the other light that are illuminating the map. Okay, let's try with all the objects inside. Let's do a render. Sorry. We have to go inside the camera. and back to the render. Now it is possible that we have too much lighting inside the scene. So to have less lighting, we can use this light, and we can have a lower value for the front light there. Let's imagine, for example, 80. And let's see again what happened. And now we try to see the render with the depth of field, but we'll add the depth of field in compositing. So we have just to find something I like to do is to have so less power from this map, the dome, and more again from the main lighting. Let's see if in this way we can have the nice effects we had before. So we have a really huge lighting from there and a little bit of lighting coming from the HDR map, and it seems nice. Okay, save, and let's see what happens if we have also the depth of field. Then we set the final rendering parameters, and we can output all the passes to work in compositing. You see that the result is not bad. It is really nice. Okay, so save. Okay, so let's remove the depth of field and let's tune a little bit the rendering parameters. We go for, let's say, a triangle filter, and we need a higher anti-alias. Maybe we can try with something like 2 and 8. Then in the illumination there, I like to have also the ambient occlusion a little bit. Let's see the scaling with a tape, and we can say maybe something like 8 centimeters. Okay, let's go for 8. We have 16 subdivision, and let's say that we have 1.2. Okay, then let's go for an eye preset, and then we go for a custom. We go a little bit lower with the max rate, so we can speed up the rendering, and we can have more little hemisphere subdivision. Let's see what happened with this parameter. Obviously the anti-alias is high, so it can be a little bit slower to be calculated. Okay, nice. Let's work more on the other parameters. We can have maybe just a little bit lower threshold there and a little bit more distance threshold. I like to add also the detail enhancement, and we can use the scaling from the screen, but we can go lower with the radius, and we can stay with this parameter for the subdivision. Then we have for the brute force for the secondary effects, so we can stay with this one. And let's see what we have there. we have the settings, and we can change a little bit to have a more quality. We can go lower for the adaptive amount and a little bit lower for the noise threshold to remove the noise. Let's go higher for the minimum samples, and let's go higher for the global subdivision. Then I can use more memory there. We can use the maximum there. That's half the memory you have on inside the workstation, and I get a more little render region, and I go for the Hilbert curve for the rendering. Let's see how it looks. We should have a nice quality actually. Then we can set the render passes, and then we can go inside Fusion to make the final composition. We use some render elements just to have the possibility to control the coloring for the single elements using the ID, and also to have the control over the depth of field directly in compositing. So it seems that the quality is nice. Now I like to see there where we have the bump and we can have more noise. It seems nice. Maybe to be sure we can go just a little bit higher with the parameters. Okay, so let's say that there we go maybe higher on the global subdivisions multiplier and double on the minimum samples to be sure we are removing, and a little bit more thresholds for the noise to be sure that we have a higher quality and also a lower adaptive amount. So we are ready to work on the render passes. So there we need for sure, we can use the V-Ray alpha, and I like to have let's see, the reflection. Then actually I don't like to change the shadows, but we can have the V-Ray specularity. We need for sure that it's a depth, and we need the multi-matte element. We can use it. So I like to have a mask over the white pieces. So this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. So right mouse button, object properties, and we set the ID to 1. Then we have the black pieces, same, right mouse button, and we set the ID to 2, and then we can change the other setting to 3. Okay, in the multi-matte you can set G-buffer on, and we say 1, 2, and 3, and all to sorry, it's not a matte ID. Okay, that's nice. We have to say where we have to save the output, and we say inside the folder where we have the passes, and this one will be multi-matte, and we'll use the TIFF file format because we are not doing a so complex composite. Then the alpha we save in the same folder, and we say alpha.tiff, but in the other folder. Okay, nice. The reflection and the same. Let's call it reflection.tiff. and then we have the specularity, and we say that it must save in the same folder, specular.tif, and then we have the z depth. Okay, I like to see which is the range. To see the range, we have to select the camera, and then we can see the distance. Let's say that we use the clipping. So let's say that the near is 26. And let's say 80 centimeters, 60, okay, and 60 is the maximum, maybe 65. Okay, so it's 25, let's say, maybe we can see from there it's 28 to 65, so 28 to 65. Nice. And we like to save on the same folder. Let's call it zdepth.tif. And that's all, and save. Let's see if it works. So we render just an area, and we'll see if the passes are nice, and then we go to comp the project. You have to render at full resolution this frame. So let's wait for the so it is finished. Let's wait for the lattice bucket. And we'll have the passes. So that's, you see the RGB passes for the ID. There we have the Z depth. And there we have the specularity. There we have the reflection and the alpha, but the alpha is not needed actually. So let's set to not enable this one, and the other one are nice. So let's close everything, and we are ready to render the final image. So let's set to view, and we set to 900 and 400. So it can render, and later we'll work on the composite. So we are in Fusion. First of all, we need to load the frames. So inside the right folder, we have all the passes, but we have to save also this one. So it will be beauty.tif. Okay, so back in Fusion, we can load the beauty. So we have this one, and I like to add a blur using the defocus, but we need to input with a loader the zeta depth. So we have this path that must be connected to the mask used to make the defocus. So let's go into the focus. We say that we are using the lens. We say that this one is the blurring. Okay, so we have to set various stuff. First of all, we need to convert this one to a mask. So we need a node from the mask bitmap. We have to attach this one there and there. So we are converting this one, and you see that actually we are not using there because we are using the wrong channel. Let's go to use the luminance. So now we have the right mask. We have then to work on the focus. I don't like to have the bloom, I don't need it. We have just to work with the blurring, but you see that we are blurring the front side of the object. So there in the bitmap, invert. So we have, this kind of effects. Let's say A and B, and there we have the right one. I like to have more the focus also there, so we go there inside the bitmap, and you see we are cutting the low level. So now if you see, we have the depth of field also there. So back into the focus, we are using the lens, and now we can decide how much the focus we like to have. We can go with a different look. You see, we can decide which one is the best, if this one or this one or the circle. I like the angle. We can also rotate. You see that we can decide how many side we have on the lens, so that's really nice. And we have also the lens shape that is changing the shape there. Let's see how much depth of field we like to have. I like to have a really huge depth of field, maybe something like that, and we can change a little bit. Let's see, this one I like to have a little bit more. Okay, something like that. Then we can work on the other stuff. Let's see if we have a little bit of bloom with the right result. We have the maximum specularity there. Let's see if we add just a little bit of bloom. Okay. Let's see again there. I like to remove the possibility, okay, to have there some blurring. Back on this one. Let's save this one obviously as the composition. So, and the desktop on my folder there. Let's call it part 2. Okay, so now I like to work, let's scale a little bit. I like to work a little bit also on the coloring, so add a color correction, and we can coloring before we do the focus, so we link in this way. Okay, that's our color correction. Now let's work a little bit on the shadows. Then on the midtones I like to change a little bit. You see the look we have actually. I don't like so much the look we have at the moment, so let's go back on the shadows. Okay, and the master. Let's see the first one. There is too red, as you see. Okay. Then let's work with another color, the brightness and contrast. Let's copy there and there. Okay, and let's say that there we have this one, so we can see the differences. Okay, so the brightness and contrast, let's go to have more contrast and a little bit of brightness and a little bit less saturation. I think we have to remove okay, just a little bit. Okay, then let's make something like a blurring. or maybe we can use directly the glow, and the glow can be done directly there. So add blur glow. Okay, obviously that's too much, but we have the possibility to change. Let's see which one can be used. This one is not bad. And you see that's the, sorry, that's the blend. That's a general glow, as you see, over the image. Okay, let's add a grain. So inside the film, you have film grain and grain. Let's try with the film grain. It is obviously too much. Let's go for a lower side, so something really little and obviously less visible. Okay, you see that we have the grain over it. So then let's move using the shift and the control key the graph. Let's create a mask ellipse, and we change this one in this way. Okay, then let's go there and let's say that we have a color. We say that we have the brightness and contrast, and we use this mask. So now we can say that the brightness is lower, and inside the mask we say invert. So you see we are doing something like the vignetting. Obviously we have to change there using the soft edge. Okay. Another thing we can do is to go lower with our brightness there and use a color corrector using the same mask, and then use just the master there, but we have to let's use the same map as a copy and paste, and let's use this one as mask, and there we can set the invert. So there it is right, and there, oh sorry, that's why we had problem. So that's the mesh reference, that's the effect mask. Okay, so now we can change as we like. Okay, let's remove this one, sorry. Let's go back there, and inside the color let's find a nice looking with more saturation. And we can work also, you see, the strength will be lower, let's say a little bit more. Okay, so then there we need less brightness remover. There we need to have, let's say that we can see 50%, so we can work on the mask. On the mask there we can change the board and the soft edge. Okay, do something like that. Nice. So back there, and I like just to see if we can add something in between to have more reflection or better control to the reflection. So back there, add tool. First of all, let's save. Add tool, loader, and we use the reflection. So that's the reflection. Okay, let's use a composite merge, and we go as background this one, and output for the focus this one. Nice. The reflection will be used over it. Oh, sorry, that's the effect mask. Okay, and let's connect the effect mask. So let's go to the feed. Obviously it's too much. We go there and we say that we have a screen. You see that it is really high. We can add just a little bit, and you see that we can decide how much. So let's go in the A, B, 50%. Let's go there, and let's say that we have there and there, so we can see the differences. Let's go and fit. You see that we have a little bit more reflection. We can add more using more blend. You see that the reflectivity are more visible, maybe just a little bit more. Okay, so we have more reflectivity over. Then let's go to the final one with the depth of field. Let's work a little bit on the focus. I like to have lower bloom level. Maybe we can go also, you see, to a lower the focus. Okay, to have a nicer result. Let's go back to the other, that's the film grain, and I like to check the color correction there. Okay, because I like how it looks there with the red. So maybe inside the shadows we can go to something like that. Let's go in the mid-tones. Let's go to the highlights. Okay, that's the result there. Let's see with more reflection. Let's see with the focus. Okay, that's nice. And last thing we can do is to go there, and I like just to add a little bit of sharpen. So let's connect. You see that's really high, but we can have a little bit lower, and maybe it is better to have it before we use the grain. So let's disconnect, move it there. We go there on the sharpen and then back on the film grain. And let's work a little bit on the sharpen. Okay, let's go there in the sharpen. You see that the amount is really high. Let's go for 0.5. And let's see without. Let's go higher with a blend, and let's go for there, this one, and there, this one, so we can see how it is better with this little sharpen. Let's go for a little bit more. And you see that we have more detail, and that's nice. We have less blurring on the front side with more detail. So back there we have the last render there and the first pass there, so we can see how it is working. Save, and let's say that's our render, and as you see, that's the final composite. So I think that's really nice as end result. Obviously it was really a simple project, and we'll move forward with V-Ray to work on more complex render and create some complete scene to obtain more photoreal. But it's nice to have an introduction to see how to set up lighting, how to set up the composite, and how to prepare some kind of material. So for the moment that's all, and I hope to see you back on Max Cookie to check for a new tutorial coming from cgcookie.com. Bye.